Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a new game analysis video of Zerg versus Protoss. Today we're gonna take a look at our hero Zerg player spawning in the top left corner of merry-go-round. That is going to be none other than Rotate Owls, and his opponent is going to be a Protoss player playing under the blue colors. It is going to be Para OP's Havoc. Now, both of these players are Platinum League players. However, today we're gonna take a look at Rotate Owls. He will end up losing this game, and hopefully I will be able to explain exactly what I would change around instead, so hopefully he will be able to win more games and not lose to similar Protoss strategies anymore. Now, the reason why I'm analyzing his game is because this is something I've been doing in the recent couple of weeks with subscribers from Twitch TV. So if you aren't already a subscriber on Twitch, make sure to check the link in the description below, and hopefully I will be analyzing your game next week, and hopefully I will be able to, you know, let you improve and all that kind of awesomeness. So, Rotate Owls in this game is gonna play a pretty damn standard Zerg versus Protoss. He will analyze exactly what his opponent is up to with this Overlord right here, noticing, okay, there's a Nexus first going down, whereas he decided himself to go for a hatchery first into a spawning pool, and he's gonna quickly transition into a third base as well. Now, the first look at his game, we're just gonna cruise through it at ×4 speed right now, because honestly, he plays a super solid early and mid game Zerg versus Protoss. However, in this specific game, as you might have already noticed by the title of this video, we're going to be mostly talking about late game transitions. So mid-game to late-game transitions in Zerg versus Protoss. Now, I'm not going to hammer too much on early-game little mistakes. Honestly, for example, I wouldn't be taking this third base. I would always expand away from the Protoss, but we're not going to be focusing on those kind of things. We're just going to take a look at the mid-game and how I would have transitioned into the late part of the game and how Rotate Owls decide to do that in this game. Because most of the time actually in this game I had the feeling that he was definitely outplaying his Protoss opponent, scouting properly, seeing that this robotic facility goes down, seeing all the gateways going down. Obviously he is aware that his opponent is very likely gonna go for some sort of two-base attack, and if he's gonna be able to expand later on, you know, he will have a pretty big army already. So right now, Rotate Owls is establishing a bigger economy than his opponent, 56 harvesters already, so everything is looking really solid, and now he's transitioning into a ton of roaches with +1/+1 upgrades. So far, it's solid, right? He will actually fight a little bit right here at this third base of the Protoss, and right now we're actually gonna slow down the game. Because it looks like the Protoss did decide to transition into Colossus and into a third base. So right here is usually the point where Zerg, you know, is a little bit weird. What do you exactly do as a Zerg player? Your opponent is taking a third base, you know there's Colossus out, there's Immortals out, you know force fields can sort of mess you over, but you still want to try and counter this third base. So how do you go about transitioning right here, and how are you gonna deal with this nasty unit called the Colossus? Colossus in general do a ton of damage to any kind of Zerg army, so you need to get rid of them. But how are you gonna do that? So Rotate Owls decides to go for the Spire, and he also throws down the Hydralisk Den, so he can start making some Roach Hydras and some Corruptors in there as well. Now, what I would advise you to do is exactly like Rotate Owls is doing. You want to try and put as much aggression on the Protoss opponent, however, you still want to go for something like a timing attack. So most of the time you would be pushing with +2/+2. However, the one thing that I don't really like is the army composition that Rotate Owls is going for. He decides to go for a whole lot of Corruptors shortly, and later on, actually he's not going for Corruptors, he's gonna go for Mutalisks. Yeah, as you can see right there, he's gonna go for Mutalisk. And that is the one thing that I would not be doing, because Mutalisks are usually a unit that are good if you like do a timing attack and then you all of a sudden switch into Mutalisk, but slowly but surely building up a Mutalisk count is usually not the way to go. So here we see a little bit of aggression once again, an engagement going down. However, this Colossus count is really getting out of hand. So right now we're just gonna speed through the very end of this game. As you might have guessed, there's gonna be a big engagement happening very shortly, and the Protoss is gonna move into the third base of the Zerg. These Colossus are gonna beam down pretty much everything, and the Zerg just sort of dies. So what would I change? Right now, I would say the Protoss player played it a little bit better and he ended up winning this game. However, Rotate Owls had a really good idea of what he wanted to do. He wanted to trade armies with his Protoss opponent. Let's go back around the 11-minute mark or so. Let's actually, where was that? It was right around this time. is when we see Rotate Owls moving across the map, and he basically is trying to deal with this Protoss army the best he can. However, the army composition right now doesn't really allow him to do very much. This Colossus is basically being the bane of his existence. So how do you transition from mid-game Zerg to late-game Zerg? How do you make sure that a Protoss player does not get in the situation where we saw the Protoss being in right now, at the very end of this game, where the Protoss just sort of has an army that we cannot stop? Now, there are a couple of options that we can go for. First off, there's the Swarm Host option, and I am not the biggest fan of this unit, so I am not going to be discussing it. I don't think it's going to be very good to practice that as much, because it won't really help you in any of the other matchups. However, playing Swarm Host will indeed be one way to deal with this, as long as you micro them properly, and as long as you add some Vipers in there. However, if you want to play Roach Hydra, what I would advise you to do is transition into Vipers instead. Roach Hydra Viper is absolutely amazing in dealing exactly what we see right here. Right now, when we take a look at the unit tab, there are 5 Colossus out, 5 Immortals, 18 Stalkers and 10 Sentries, a couple of Zealots as well. What would be the ideal army composition to deal with this? That isn't called the Swarm Host. Well, most of the time that would indeed be double upgraded Roaches and Hydralisks, maxed out, excuse me, with Viper support. The Vipers, what they allow you to do is abduct these Colossus and put Blinding Clouds, if you have anything left, on the rest of the army. If you take the Colossus out of this equation, what is really left for this Protoss? Well, you know, there's gonna be Stalkers, there's gonna be Sentries, there's gonna be Immortals, but those units really easily die to Roaches and Hydras alone. However, the Colossus are the ones we need to be dealing with. So how do you transition into Vipers? Let's say right now we have already the Roach Hydra Viper army up. What would we do? Well, we abduct the Colossus and we sort of just deal with this Protoss army easily. However, how do you transition into getting these Viper units up? Well, most of the time what you end up doing is go for a 10-minute infestation pit and then go straight into the hive tech. So most of the time this is going to be a little bit awkward because 10 minutes is ridiculously early. Let's have a look at it. 10 minutes is right at the point where you basically decided or you noticed that your opponent didn't really go for a 2-base all-in. Now, very shortly we will see the Protoss take a 3rd base, but 10 minutes is already at this moment, okay? We only have this base half saturated. We don't even have our +1/+1 upgrade yet. And however, most professional gamers go for an infestation pit at the 10-minute mark. So what I would advise you to do is, at the very least, as soon as you realize that your Protoss opponent did not go for a 2-base all-in, but decided to expand, which would be right at this time, you instantly throw down the infestation pit. This is going to be very early, but keep in mind, Infestation Pit, I believe, takes 100 seconds to create. Let's have a look. 100 seconds to create. Then I believe it is another 100 seconds, or 150 seconds even for a Hive. So there's already 250 seconds. And then we also need to morph in the Vipers, which is another 40. So how much is that? That is 250, that's 290 seconds? I think that's proper math right there. So 290 seconds, how many minutes is that? That is like 4 or 5 minutes until we will actually be able to get the Vipers out. Obviously, we also need to get some energy on them. So let's say around the 15 to 16 minute mark is when we could have full energy Vipers and a maxed out army of Roaches and Hydras. Let's go to the 16 minute mark, which is where we would be able to see these units out already. So at the 16 minute mark, what we could have, if we macroed properly and if we actually went instantly for that Hive, as soon as we saw that the Colossus were out and as soon as we saw this 3rd base go up, let's say we would have been maxed out right now. Imagine this being a maxed out army with +2/+2 Roaches, +2/+2 Hydras, and Vipers. How would this engagement go? Take a look at your Protoss army right now. There isn't a whole lot. Right now, there's actually triple Colossus production going on. But imagine having Vipers right now. 3 Vipers out, 4 Vipers out with a maxed out Roach Hydra army. Imagine you push in right now, abduct these Colossus, put down a Blinding Cloud. This Protoss player is 100% done. So once more, if you want to be transitioning into Roach, Hydra and Vipers, make sure to go for right around the 10 to 11 minute mark Infestation Pit. I don't know exactly where you threw it down, but the 10 to 11 minute mark Infestation Pit, or as soon as you see that the Protoss does not go for a 2-base all-in and goes for a 3rd base instead, which is usually right around to 9 to 9.5 minute 2-minute mark. Throw out the infestation pit, go for a hive, get about 3 to 4, get around 3 to 4 vipers out, and push. Right if you hit energy on your vipers, abduct the colossus out of the army, throw down blinding clouds, and you should have absolutely no problems dealing with late game Zerg vs Protoss. Now keep in mind, you still want to be attacking, like Rotate Owls is doing exactly like in this game. You do not want this Protoss player to max out, because at that point it becomes really hard to kill him. However, go for the Roach Hydra Viper play, give it a try at the very least, and hopefully you will be able to win just as easily as most Zerg players are doing right now versus Protoss. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, make sure to hit the like button right below, and I would like to read your comments as well if you want me to make more replay analysis videos. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome to a new StarCraft II Heart of the Swarm video. Today we're gonna be focused